Thank you for your patience. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita. We are in the Bhagavad Pravaha. So far, Srimad Bhagavatam, we have heard the overview of Srimad Bhagavatam, the significance of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the entire Srimad Bhagavatam in 1 hour summary. After that, we have done the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have not done. We have heard the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then heard the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and now we are hearing third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this third canto, as we have discussed, there are 5 topics, right? The first topic is Vidura Uddhava Samvada, right? And after Uddhava directed Vidura to go to Maitreya Muni, then comes Vidura Maitreya Samvada, right? And after that, I may have to just all it, please excuse me. That way, there is no disturbance to cut time between. Yeah, I think we are good. Yeah, we'll continue. Yeah, so that's a Vidura Maitreya Samvada, and after that comes Lord Varaha's pastimes, third topic, and after that is Kardama Muni Devahuti Katha, and then Kapila Muni's Uvacha, instructions of Lord Kapila. So these are the 5 topics of third canto. And last time we have covered the first one, Vidura Uddhava Samvada. And there, all the nectar of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam we have heard there, right? Today we will be hearing about Vidura Maitreya Samvada. Okay. So after Uddhava directed Vidura to go to Maitreya Muni, then Vidura comes to Maitreya Muni. And this conversation between Vidura and Maitreya can be divided into, let's see how many subtopics will come. Okay, the first one, after beautiful words from Mahatma Vidura, wonderful ones, we will see what they are, we will hear them. So after those beautiful words, he asks certain questions through Maitreya Muni. So we have covered the first, second, third, and fourth chapters. Those are Vidura and Uddhava Samvada. And Maitreya, Vidura Maitreya Samvada starts with the 5th chapter. Okay, so in the 5th and 6th chapters are about the questions related to Sarga, primary creation. Whatever was heard in the 2nd canto regarding the primary creation, the details of those were given in these 5th and 6th chapters. Okay, and here the prayers of the sense devatas also will come, beautiful one. So 5th and 6th chapters are about the finer details of primary creation or Sarga. Okay, and 7th chapter is about Brahma. We know, we have heard about how Brahma took birth from the lotus feet of Garbhodak Sai Vishnu and then just offered prayers, right? He got the vision of Mahavaikuntha and offered prayers. So that was just a little quick run over of that topic. The details of that topic are given here. So that's why in the 7th chapter, the whole chapter describes beautifully about the birth of Brahma. Okay, how he was born and before and after everything. So birth of Brahma is in the actually 7th chapter is about questions of Vidura, which are very similar to the Parikshit Maharaj's questions in the beginning. Okay, next chapter is about the birth of Brahma. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8th chapter is about the birth of Brahma. After Brahma is born, we have heard that Brahma offered prayers to Mahavishnu, right? The Garbhodakasaya Vishnu. So that prayers are explained in detail in the next chapter, that is 9th chapter. Okay. After the prayers are offered in the 9th chapter, and he got the blessings from Narayana, in the 10th chapter, the creation begins, where the 14 planetary systems, Lord Brahma, he builds the 14 planetary systems, right? That's 10th. 14 planetary systems and the 4 kinds of secondary creation. We'll come to the details when we come there, but that's in that chapter. The 11th chapter is about calculation of the time. Now that the Brahmanda is built, the calculation of the time. And after calculation of time, 11th chapter, now comes one after the other, starting with the Kumaras. How Kumaras were born and the rest of them, how Shambhu was born and Swayambhu Manu was born. All that is in the 12th chapter. So these are the divisions of the 3rd canto. Okay. Today we will cover the 5th chapter and 6th chapter, which gives finer details of Sarga or primary creation. And 7th chapter, which answers the questions of Mahatma Vidura that are very similar to the questions of Parikshit Maharaj. So this is what we're going to do today, these 3, 5, 6, 7. So let's go to the PowerPoint. Now we can see the 5th chapter.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I think you are frozen, Mataji.
So sorry about the disturbance in Katha. Didn't realize charging. My computer ran out of the charging. Yeah, so we'll continue. Mahatma Vidura. Yeah, so he came to Maitreya Muni. And then Maitreya Muni, so he, I'm opening this thing for us. So Maitreya Muni, he approaches Mahatma Vidura. And he first of all, before he presents the question, he poses a beautiful, it's not a question-like thing, but he says, we'll see what he says. Mahatma Vidura says, Sukhaya karmani karoti loko, natai sukham vanyad uparamam va, vindeta bhuyas tadayeva dukkham, yadatra yuktam bhagavan vadena. Mahatma Vidura is saying, oh Maitreya Muni, after greeting Maitreya Muni, he's asking, Sukhaya karmani karoti loko. Sukhaya karmani, in want of happiness, karmani karoti loko. People do certain things, yeah, in want of happiness. But natai sukham, but they don't get the happiness. Vanyad uparamamba, they don't even get the cessation of the misery. Vindeta bhuyas, on the contrary, tatayeva dukkham, they actually get more misery. Yadatra yuktam bhagavan vadenva. Yuktam, then what's the best thing to do in this scenario? Oh Maitreya Muni, you please tell me. Mahatma Vidura, he knows everything. He's a realized soul, right? But he's asking these kind of questions, keeping us in mind, for us, on behalf of our conditioned souls. So Maitreya Muni understood that. First, he was thinking, what? Mahatma Vidura, this kind of question? As if he does not know. But then he realizes that Mahatma Vidura is being very compassionate to everybody who is really entangled with material world. On their behalf, he's asking. So this is the question Mahatma Vidura asked. If we see Sukhaya Karmani, we do, all our actions are either geared to get some happiness in this material world or to get some relief from the misery. Those are the two reasons why we perform actions. Karmani karoti loko. Why are loka? The people, karoti karmani, doing the actions either to get the sukha. Yeah. But what's happening to them? We may be doing the actions either to get the happiness from this material world or to get out of the misery. But three things are happening in the attempt of doing that. One is natai sukham, there is no happiness coming. Vanyad uparamamba, there is no cessation of the miseries. The difficulties are not going away. And on top of that, vindeta bhuyas tadayeva dukkham, there is more dukkham, misery adding. This is the nature of the material world. And this is the result of doing any action expecting some happiness in this material world. Isn't that beautifully said? This sukhaya karmani, these actions may be geared towards personal enjoyment or enjoyment of the family or enjoyment of the nation or enjoyment of the world as such. But as long as it is geared towards material things, these three things are bound to happen sooner or later. Then what to do in this kind of situation? Vidura is asking. Then he says, immediately after that he says, Janasya Krishna Vimukasya Daivat Adharmashilasya Sudhukkitasya Anugrahaye Hacharanti Nunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardanasya. Because these loka, these people are doing these actions to get happiness. Why are they doing that kind of actions to get happiness from the material world? Because Janasya, these people are Krishna Vimukasya. They turned away from Krishna, Vimukha, turned away from Krishna that is sitting in the heart. Daivad, because of the Daivi Maya, Adharmasilasya, Adharmashilasya, Sudhukkitasya. They are performing adharma and they are ending up in dukkha, miseries. This is the reason why they are getting these miseries. Because they are Krishnadvimukasya, turned away from Krishna, turned towards the material world. Bahir Mukha, turning towards the material world. Get their actions and thoughts towards the people, towards the things in the material world, not towards the Krishna that is sitting in the heart. Anugraha yeha charanti nunam bhutani bhavyani janardanasya. In order to bring this particular fact to our attention, to give this anugraha, to give this mercy by bringing this fact to our attention. Anugraha yeha charanti nunam, charanti, wander. Who? Bhavyani, the sadhus. Bhutani, so they can give the anugraha to Bhutani, to all the living entities. Janardanasya, on behalf of Janardana. So these devotees on behalf of Janardana to give anugraha, mercy to all the living entities for doing these actions to get happiness, geared towards the material world by becoming Vimukha to Krishna, turning away Krishna. These devotees are wandering around to bring their attention to Krishna. Yeah? And then he says, Tad sadhu varyadisha vatma samana samadhito bhagavan yena pumsam. Bhagavan yena pumsam hrudistito. O sadhu varya, O Maitreya Muni, yeah? Please tell me, please instruct me. Samaradhito Bhagavan, in the devotional service of Bhagavan, Yena Pumsam Hrudistito, who is sitting in the heart of the Pumsam, in the people, in the heart of the living entities. Yachati, then attains, he gives, the Lord in the heart gives, Bhakti Pute to the devotees. What does he give with the devotional service? Jnanam Satatvadigamam Puranam, gives a realized knowledge. So by performing devotional service, then the Lord in the heart gives knowledge from within. So can you give me the details of how to perform the devotional service? That's the next one. Okay. Now here, as Mahatma Vidura has asked the details of devotional service. Devotional service primarily begins with Shravanam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, right? Smaranam. So first thing is Shravanam. So first service is Shravanam. Shravanam of Krishna Katha. Shravanam of Harinama. Shravanam of Krishna Katha to teach how to do the Harinama is also Harikatha. So now that Vidura asked to please teach me about devotional service, he is asking about Shravanam now. So now he asks few questions here about please tell Purushavataras, Leelavataras, and the living conditions. He asks these questions. And in the very next verse, because he asked about the ways of devotional service to the Lord sitting in the heart, he is emphasizing now, oh, Maitreya Muni, please note that I'm asking Krishna Katha only, about the Lord in the heart only. He says, Paravaresham Bhagavan Vratani, Shrutani me Vyasa Mukhad Abhikshanam, Atprunma Shulla Sukhavahana Tesham Rate Krishna Kadamrutaghat. Paravaresham, para, about the higher and lower orders in the society. Vratani and different occupations. Shrutani me, I have heard that. Vyasa Mukhad, from the Mukha of the Vyasad, Abhikshanam. So Vyasadeva has written all these literatures, including Mahabharata. And in Mahabharata, Samade, Dana, Veda, Dandopaya, all the tactics in the politics were described. And then Dharma, Artha, Kama were also described. And some moksha is also described. He said, I have heard all that. Atprunma, I am satisfied. Kshulla Sukavahanam, with all those little things. Kshulla is very little. Sukavahanam, happiness. So I have heard all those topics that gives a little happiness. I am satisfied. I have understood all those matters about all those occupational duties, higher orders, lower orders, and Dharma, Artha, Kama, Samadhana, Veda. I have heard all that. I'm not asking about that. Deshamrite Krishna Kadamrita Agat. I am specifically asking about Krishna Kadamritam. So specifically, please speak about Krishna Kada and give me that Amrita of Krishna Kada. So Maitreya Muni is asking that. So far, this specifically says that as we may be engaging in so many activities, in so many capacities, at the level of family, occupation at work, in the society. Sorry, excuse me. I will try to mute you. I have to stop sharing this and then mute again. Or, yes, I could do this. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah. So we may be engaging in different kind of activities in different capacities, and we may be getting knowledge pertaining to that particular, occupation and in that capacity. But unless there is Krishna Kadhamrutaga, the nectar, pure nectar of pure Krishna Katha, there is no satisfaction. So this is what Buddha is saying. And he says in the next one, do you know why I'm emphasizing on pure Krishna Katha, unadulterated with any topics of this material world? Kastrupnaya tirdapado abhidhana satreshu vasuribhiridyamanat. Who is that person, Trupnayat, that is not satisfied, Tirdapado, about the topics of Tirdapada. Tirdapada is the source of all Tirdas, pilgrimages. That's lotus feet of Lord Hari. So who is not satisfied hearing Abhidhanat about Tirdapado, about the lotus feet of Lord Hari? Satreshuva surabhiridyamanat. Satreshu is general people. So tell me, in the general people who are not satisfied with the topics of the lotus feet of Lord Hari, who is worshipped Surabhiridyamanat by great devotees. Because these topics of Krishna, Yah Karna Nadim Purushasya Yato, when they enter into the Karna Nadim, the ear holes, then Purushasya Yato, Bhava Pradam Geharatim Chinnati. Bhava Pradam, this Bhava is the ocean of modes. And Geharatim, the self-centered family attachment. Chinnati, they are cut off. By hearing the topics of Tirthapada, this will happen. The miseries of this material world and self-centered family attachments, they are cut off. How are they cut off? What happens? It's because Sashraddha dhanasya vivardhamana viraktimanyatra karoti pumsaha hari padanusmriti nivritasya samasta dukkhapyayamashu dhatte. When this Harikatha is entering the ear holes, Sashraddha dhanasya, And when these are heard with such shraddha, with such faith, that this Hari Katha is not different from Hari. This Hari Nama that I'm hearing is not different from Hari. Hari is all powerful and he is going to bring all auspiciousness in me. Yeah, and cleanse my heart. And as we just heard, the miseries of the material world will go away. So having Shraddha with all that is said in this Bhagavata, with that Shraddha, Vivardhamana Virakti Manyatra. Virakti is detachment. Detachment is Udasina. Disinterest. Disinterest regarding the material things will increase automatically when somebody is hearing this Harikatha with such Shraddha. And Harir Padana Smriti Nivritasya, by Smriti, by absorbed in the thoughts of Padana Smriti, the lotus feet of Lord Hari, Samasta Dukkapyayama Shuddhatte. Samasta, all the Dukkapyayam, worries, are mitigated. Ashu is immediately. Srimad Bhagavatam is saying very soon, repeatedly we hear Srimad Bhagavatam is saying Ashuddhatte. And it is also said when Parikshit Maharaj was saying, it doesn't take too long. Kalena nati dirghena Bhagavan hritati vishate hradi. Kalena na ati dirghena Bhagavan vashate hradi. So na ati dirghena there, Ashuddhatte here. How can this happen so quickly? When the faith is so strong. Sa shraddha dhanasya. So depending upon how much faith we are putting in the Krishna Katha that we are hearing, in the Harinama that we are taking, proportionately the results will be there. Proportionately, the sooner the results will be there and the bigger the results will be there. So that is the Shraddha. Okay? And that is the potency of Krishna Katha. And when we say Krishna Katha, it's about Krishna Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. Right? That's Krishna Katha. Having Shraddha in those topics will bring such kind of Samasta Dukkapayam. All the miseries will be mitigated. Any miseries? Next sloka. So what does that mean? All the miseries will be mitigated. Samasta Dukkapayam Ashuddhatte. That will come. Yeah, that will come soon. And after saying that, because Samasta Dukkapayam Ashuddhatte is, we'll hear in the shloka later too, how all those miseries are mitigated. And there we can explain in detail. But the next sloka, Vidura says, okay, now that I have asked you, requested you to please very focusedly give me pure Krishna Katha. Yeah. So like Tadasa Kausharava Sharmadatur Harir Kadamyeva Kadasusaram Udrutya Pushpebhya Ivartha Bhando Shivaya Nah Kirtaya Tirtha Kirti. Now that I have asked you to please speak pure Krishna Katha, O Sharmadatur, Kausharava is Maitreya, O Sharmadatur, you are a benefactor of everybody. Hari Kadam Eva Kathasu Saram. Please give me the Saram of the Hari Katha. Like Udrutya Pushpebhya Ivartha Bandho, like the honeybee goes to each flower and gathers the nectar, like that. Please give me that nectar. Only nectar of only the Krishna Katha. So honeybee doesn't, in the garden, honeybee may go from this end to that end. And so there are walkways, benches, chairs, etc. But it doesn't stop anywhere. So like that, you please don't stop on any lower topics, any mixed topics. Please straight go to the flower and take the nectar. Like that, please straight give me the pure Krishna Katha. Shivaya na kirtaya tirtha kirti. Because Shivaya, it is so auspicious to do kirtana, glorification of Tirtha. Tirtha Kirti of the source of all the Tirthas, who is Lord Hari. So in this way, would you please explain pure Krishna Katha to me? This is what Vidura asks. Okay. And then Maitreya says, until I think we can take life lessons from here. So in the beginning, right, whatever we do, if it is geared to get happiness from this material world, it gives those three effects. That is, no happiness. On top of that, there are more miseries. There is no cessation of the miseries, and on top of that, there is more miseries. So these three things happen. And then after that, we have heard about all this is because when a person becomes Krishna Vimukhat, that's when this happens. And that's why all the pure devotees, they to give the anugraha to the people, they wander around to give this Krishna Katha. This Krishna Katha is so potent. When it is heard, then it causes cessation of the material miseries and cuts the self-centered family attachments. We are saying self-centered because in a devotee family, it may be a family, but when the devotees see rest of the family members as the property of Krishna, servants of Krishna. So though it is a family, it is not Geharathing, it is not self-centered, it is Krishna-centered. Yeah? So, but for those self-centered family attachments, those are cut off by Krishna Katha. And Krishna Katha is very potent and causes samasta dukkapayam, relieves all the miseries when heard with Shraddha. And it automatically causes indifference to any material pullings. And after that, after asking all this, then Maitreya Muni now speaks. After all these requests from Vidura, he says, "Oh Maitreya, you were previously Yamaraja. You are a self-realized soul. And it is so wonderful that you are asking me these questions. So I can speak some Bhagavata Katha for my own good." So here the student or listener of the Bhagavata Katha is appreciating Maitreya Muni, saying that you are Sharma Dhatur, you are the friend of all. So he has that respect and faith in the speaker of the Bhagavatam, and the speaker of the Bhagavatam also is grateful to the listener because he's giving an opportunity to speak Bhagavata Katha so the speaker also can hear. So in this way, the Bhagavata Katha is served both by the listener and the speaker, not just the speaker. So it's a service together by the listener and the speaker together to Bhagavan. And then Maitreya Muni, after saying that, he answers two things here. One is, as we discussed in the beginning, about the details of the primary creation. And that will cover the 5th and 6th chapter. So that we are going to discuss now. Here, this primary creation, we have already gone through this in the 2nd canto. So we know about this. But what this 3rd canto is bringing to our attention is there are finer details. That's what we are going to discuss now. Okay. So here, when the Mahatattva is formed, in the very beginning, Mahatattva is predominantly in Sattva, goodness. Then it is called Mahatattva. When Mahatattva changes to predominantly Rajas, when the passion predominates in Mahatattva, it's called Sutra Tattva. And when ignorance predominates in Mahatattva, then it is called Ahankara. Okay? So those are the details. And the next thing, the 3rd canto gives us the details here. Here, from Ahankara, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are goodness, passion, and ignorance comes out. And we have heard that from the goodness comes the mind and 10 sense devatas. So more details about this 10 sense devatas are given in the rest of the fifth chapter. Yeah, fifth chapter. And about this, 5 tanmatras and 5 elements, the panchabhutas and tanmatras, details about that are given in the 6th chapter. Okay, so between this 5th and 6th chapter, these finer details are covered. That's where we are now. Okay. So coming to those details, this about this, how these material elements are formed. This is just a quick statement that is given here. I think we can just go ahead and discuss that here. That way the 6th chapter is covered. So here, what happens is, in the very beginning, the first ether is there. From the ether, air comes. So how does air come from the ether? Bhagavatam says, from on the ether, Bhagavan glances, and with the effect of time, then the air factor comes. And again, on the air factor, Bhagavan glances. With the effect of Kala, from the air, fire comes. Same, from the fire, water comes. Same thing. Bhagavan glances on the water, and with the effect of the Kala, from the water comes the earth, and then tanmatras. All those technical details. How can they be understood? Here, a paintbrush example is given. See, if yellow and green are mixed here, so we can go to that example. Say, if a dark green color is there, and if we want to bring out a lighter shade to the dark green one, then we take a little bit of yellow or white and mix a little bit of it, and from the darker shade of green, a lighter shade of green comes, like that. So that kind of mixing. So this is just a material example, but as we just discussed, one element comes from the previous element, starting from the ether to the earth, because of the glance of the Bhagavan and the energy of the Kala. So that's how all the Panchabhutas are formed, and Tanmatras, or the perception abilities. If skin, the major part of the skin represents the major part of the earth, right? See, for example, earth has specifically the gandha, is fragrance, right? So tanmatra of the earth is fragrance, is the capacity to smell, right? That is tanmatra. For the water, the speciality is the taste. The tasting ability is the other tanmatra, like that. So for 5 panchabhutas, 5 tanmatras are there. And this is how the panchabhutas and tanmatras come in the creation by the glance of Mahavishnu from the previous element, because of the element of the time factor. That's the summary of details about this particular section here, about 5 tanmatras and 5 elements. Okay. That actually covers most part of the 6th chapter also. Now, coming to sense devatas, this is beautiful. How these sense devatas come and what are their prayers? Here, oh yeah, and one point here is, what are these panchabhutas, these tanmatras? Does Lord really have to do all this? Why is he doing all this? Just out of compassion. All these technicalities of sarga, visarga, from this that comes, and then that comes. For what? Why is the Lord doing all this? To give us a body, a physical body, to place us in a physical place in the Brahmanda. To do what? To interact with the physical objects. Why is this all happening? Because I desire to do so. Because I desired, the Lord is mercifully doing all these arrangements, because He don't want to force bhakti or love from me. He just wants to give the choice to me whether to interact with this physical world or interact with him in the spiritual world. So though I am Krishna's Sevimukha, he is very compassionately arranging all these material things because I wanted to interact. That's the compassion of the Lord. So that is what we want to see even behind these technicalities and just philosophical discussions. Why all this? It's because of the compassion of the Lord. And now coming to the sense devatas. See, when did these sense devatas come? Remember we talked about this part of creation where Shambhu with Kala, Karma, Swabhava and Jivas interact with Prakriti. And all this happens, Mahatattva, all this until here, until this 5 tanmatras, elements, 10 sensory, Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, and mind and devatas form. This is all Karana Srishti. Right? So in this Karana Srishti, the 10 sense devatas also are formed. They also come from Sattvaguna. They have come out, but they are unable to do their action. See, for example, Surya. So he has come out from Sattvaguna, but he is unable to perform his action of enabling vision, right? So they are unable to perform their action yet because Garbhodakshai Vishnu has not entered into the Brahmanda yet. So there is no life in the Brahmanda yet. So now the sense devatas, they are praying to the Lord. What are they praying? These are the beautiful prayers in the essence. This is the second chunk of nectar for us in this session, Bhagavata Katha session. The first chunk was from Mahatma Vidura, and now the second chunk is by this prayers of the demigods. So these sense devatas, demigods are praying, "Oh Lord, we are taking shelter of your lotus feet. We are surrendered souls." They are saying, "Namamate deva padara vindam prapanna tapa upasamata patram." Very significant word. We are prapanna, we are taking shelter of padara vindam, your lotus feet, because tapa upasama atapatram. Atapatram is umbrella. We are going through so many miseries. Adibhuta, tapa. There are 3 kinds of tapas, right? Tapas. Adibhautika, Daika, Adhyatmika. So, in order to, for somebody to have shelter from these tapas, your lotus feet are like umbrellas. Atapatram. And that's why we are taking shelter. And this is why, if you see the signs in the lotus feet of the Lord, there are different auspicious signs in the lotus feet of the Lord. That's why when Lord Krishna walks in the Vraja, nobody steps over the lotus feet. And on the lotus feet, there are different signs that are seen. And one of those signs is the umbrella. Why umbrella? Because Lord's lotus feet is like umbrella, which keeps us dry from the rainfall of tapa, miseries. Yeah, and samsara dukkam bahir ukshipanti. All this dukkam from samsara, from this material, bahir ukshipanti, throws, this umbrella throws all the miseries of this material world far away. So that's the beautiful prayer. Comparing the Lord's lotus feet as our umbrella from all these material miseries. Next, your lotus feet are source of all knowledge. Savidyam atashrayema. This is the sloka we're talking about. Datar yat asmin bhavaisha jivas. Tapatraya. Here, tapatraya ena abhihata na sharma. The tapatrayas here are, as we were just discussing, the 3 tapas, right? So the miseries from the people around are Adi Bhautika. From the people are any jivas around, any living entities around. Miseries coming from the jivas around are Adi Bhautika. Miseries because of my own mind, my own self is Adhyatmika. And miseries because of the natural calamities are Adi Daivika, because they're controlled by the demigods. So here since the sensory devatas are saying, all our tapatrayas will be gone away, will be gone because Tavangri chayam savidyam. In the shade of the lotus feet, we get the vidyam, savidyam, the knowledge, the transcendental knowledge about the Lord. So this is explaining how we are getting rid of tapatriyas. With the transcendental knowledge that we acquire from the Lord through the Shastras and the Sadhus, that knowledge gives us our original identity, that Mamaivamshe Jivaloke, that we are spirit souls. So the lotus feet of the Lord in the form of Shastra and Sadhu gives us the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, right? They give us the spiritual strength. With this spiritual knowledge and the spiritual strength, our insight changes. We will understand that we are spiritual beings in this material world, not the material beings. We are spiritual beings in this material world. So that knowledge we will get it. With the knowledge that we get, spiritual knowledge we get and the strength we get, our perception and our perception in the life changes, and our way of dealing with the things and the people change, because our perception about the life changes when we get the spiritual knowledge and strength. In that way, we become immune to any miseries that might be coming in any direction from outside or inside. It's because of the transcendental knowledge, and it's because of the spiritual strength given through this transcendental knowledge and the sadhu sangha. This is how the lotus feet of Lord Hari is making us immune to tapatrayam. Not that these miseries will go away. They may be there. Maybe they will go away if the Lord so desires, or maybe they will be there, but we will not be perturbed. Whatever the life gives, the way we treat the life or the people around changes because of the spiritual knowledge that we get, right? So in that way, though there are miseries, devotees will not be perturbed because of the knowledge that is gained from your lotus feet through in the form of Shastra and Sadhu. Yeah, that's one thing. And next one is, this is beautiful. Padam padam tirtha padah prapannaha. Yasyada marshoda saridvaraya padam padam tirtha padah prapanna. See, some people, they take shelter of margantiyatte mukapadmani there. Take shelter of the words that have come from your lotus mouth, like Bhagavad Gita. They take shelter of the instructions or words that have come from your lotus feet. And some others, they take shelter of Yasyaga Marshoda Saridvaraya. They take shelter of the Ganges that has come from your lotus feet. So in that way, we are taking shelter of your lotus feet. Yeah. And next one is, these two are very, especially 42nd one is very relevant to us conditioned souls. 43rd is, we can say, that will be our future, hopefully, pure devotees. But in the conditioned beings, how Bhagavatam is saying, why is it that, we'll read the shloka. This is beautiful. Yash shraddadaya shrutavatya cha bhaktya samrajyamane hridaya avadhaya jnanena vairagya balena dhira vrajeme tatte angri saroja pitham. Shrutavatya cha bhaktya. Yashraddhaya Shruta Bhakta Shraddha Samrajyamane Hridaye Avadya. The lotus feet, Hridaye Avadya, they are sitting right in the heart. But why is it? Reveals knowledge and detachment. This is the unqualified people. This is the shloka that we are talking about. Yat sanubhande asati deha gehe mamaham iti udha dura grahanam pumsam suduram vasatopi puryam bhajeme tatte bhagavan padabjam. This is very relevant to us. Who is unqualified? Unqualified to take shelter of the lotus feet. Here, yat sa anubhande asati deha gehe. Who is so much attached to external things, the bodily relations, like I and my, aham mameti, asati deha gehe, anything related to the body. Then mama aham, so aham mama, that kind of I and mineness, for them, udha dura grahanam, the lotus feet, for them the lotus feet appear to be very far. But in fact, pumsam suduram vasatopi puryam, actually lotus feet are residing right in the heart. But for them who are very much attached to external objects and the people that are related to the body, lotus feet appears to be too far because they are very much absorbed, attached, and busy interacting with on a material platform to the people and things around. That's why the lotus feet appears to be too far for them. So that is in the conditioned being. Krishna Bahirmukha, Krishna Vimukta. The same thing here. Lotus feet is right in the heart, but they appear to be too far because we are too busy interacting materially. Yeah. And the next sloka is, then who is the qualified people? Here, Pashyanti Padanyasa Vilasa Laksha. Those devotees that relish Padanyasa, the pastimes of the Lord, then Pashyanti, they will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord in their heart. So the devotees are attached to the lotus feet of the Lord that is present, that are present in the heart. That's why they are able to see. But the conditioned people, they are very much attached to material things. They are Bahirmukha. They're attached to the material world. That's why they're not unable to see the lotus feet. So to that lotus feet, Bhajeme tatte Bhagavan padabjam, we worship that lotus feet. Okay. And this is about how lotus feet gives the knowledge and detachment, and how lotus feet gives the remembrance and courage. So, and these are the prayers of the demigods, the sense devatas requesting prayers to the lotus feet of the Lord. They offer all these prayers and then say, Panena te deva kadha sudhaya, pravriddha bhaktya vishadashayaye, vairagya saram pratilabhya bodham. Here vairagya saram. Panena te deva kadha sudhaya. Whoever is drinking the nectar of the topics of Krishna Katha, for them, vairagya saram, the essence of the vairagya, essence of the detachment is given. The essence of detachment is attachment to the Lord. What is the point of detaching with everything else outside, everybody else outside, when there is no attachment to the Lord inside? That's why vairagya saram, the essence of the detachment is attachment to the Lord. That is given when panena te deva kadha sudhaya, when we are drinking the topics of nectar of Krishna Katha. And pratilabhya bodham. Bodham is the knowledge. The transcendental knowledge also is realized when we are hearing these topics of Krishna Katha, drinking the nectar of the topics of Krishna Katha. Yada anjasanvayur akunta dishnyam. This is even more wonderful. Not only detachment to the Vairagya. Vairagya is detachment externally, not only detachment to externally, attachment to the Lord in the heart, realized knowledge, and on top of everything, yada anjasayangur akuntadishnam, going back to the spiritual realm, akuntadishnam. This will happen if panena te deva katha sudaya, if you are drinking the nectar of the topics of the Lord. So these are the beautiful prayers of the sense devatas. After praying that, after glorifying the Lord like this, they just ask these 4 requests. See, we are all very disunited. We are here, but we are not able to function. So please enlighten us and direct us in a way that we can serve you. And you are the origin for all of us. So kindly help us so we may follow your directions and serve you accordingly in this Brahmanda. Like that, sense devatas, they offer prayers to Mahavishnu. So that's about the 5th chapter, and we have covered the 6th chapter also. And 7th chapter is about 2 questions. Well, primarily 2 questions. But we'll go to the 6th chapter for the continuation's sake. We have already discussed this, about how all these elements form from the ether till the earth. So all those are formed. We have discussed all that. But this is a beautiful shloka that we want to hear from Maitreya Muni, especially for those who are speaking Bhagavata Katha. We want to hear what Maitreya Muni says. Maitreya Muni has described about this subject matters of creation to Vidura. And he says, Tathapi kirtayami yanga yadhamatim yadhashrutam kirtim harit swam satkartum giram anyabhidhasatim. Tathapi kirtayami yanga. O Anga, O Brahmana, O Vidura, kirtayami. I have just glorified. Yathamati yadhashrutam. However, I have realized, as I heard from my previous authorities, to the extent of my realization, I have glorified the Lord. Kirtim Harim Swam Satkartum. And I am doing all this Kirti of Hari for my own purification. If I don't do that, Giram Anyabhidhasatim, all my speech will be unchaste. So for my own purification, to purify my speech, I am trying to glorify whatever little bit that I have realized and understood as I have heard from the spiritual authorities, my Gurujana. That's what Maitreya Muni is saying. Because Bhagavata Katha is so big like an ocean. Even Anantasesha, he was not enough to describe the glories also. Maitreya Muni, he is saying these words. What to speak of conditioned souls that are speaking Bhagavata Katha. But for our own purification, if we are able to place whatever understanding that we have had, as heard from the Guru Parampara, as it is, with this quality of, Saumya and Snigdasya, right? Like a begging bowl. Snigdasya. With all that submissiveness, as we receive the information, as is imparted to us, and as we realize it, when we place that Krishna Katha, the Bhagavad Katha, for our own purification, then that is the only permission and qualification we have for speaking the Bhagavad Katha. Yeah. So that's a beautiful thing Maitreya says. The 6th chapter is over. We have heard that already. And in the 7th chapter, the 2 questions that Maitreya, Vidura asks, they are very much similar to the questions of Parikshit Maharaj. You must be remembering, Parikshit Maharaj asks, why is that the pure soul become engaged in the nations? Like, why should a pure soul have a body, right? That's the question. And also, how is it that the Lord, why is it that, how is self-satisfied Lord connected with material modes and their activities? How come the Lord is interacting with this Maya, the material modes, and still he's called transcendental? These are the two questions. We have discussed this already, but quickly to say this again, Maitreya is saying, Lord is operating his material energies, but he is not controlled by the material energies. He is the master of the material energies. Why is this question coming? Because from the Purushavatara, Karnodakasai Vishnu, all these material universes are coming, and in each material universe, Garbhodakasai Vishnu is entering, right? So this must be like, what? So the Lord is entering into Maya? How is this possible? Then how can he be called transcendental? So that's the question. And the answer is, though Lord seems to be entering into the Maya, he's actually controlling the Maya, and he's untouched by the Maya. So he's not interacting or influenced by Maya. So that's the answer. Like Garbhodakasai Vishnu, he's entering into the Brahmanda, but he is not affected by the Sattva, Rajas, Tama gunas that are formed from Mahat Tattva. He is the source of the very Mahat Tattva from which all the Sattva, Rajas, Tama guna are coming. In that way, the Lord is the master of the Maya, controller of the Maya, and is not controlled by Maya. So that's the answer. And regarding the Jiva, the same question. Why is there a distress of living entity when the living entity is spiritual? We have discussed about this, right? The distress is because of the attachment to this body. As we discussed in the past, if something happens to this body, then I am so much affected. But if something happens to somebody's body, I'm not so much affected. I may be feeling sorry and I may be helping whatever I can, but I'm not so much affected when something is happening to somebody's body. But to this body, when something is happening, I'm very much affected. Why? Because this body is mine. That feeling is very deep-rooted, very deep-rooted. Though we understand from Shastra that we are not this body, this feeling is very deep. That's why, because of the deep-rooted attachment feeling to this body, I have this pain. In reality, there is no pain, because if I think this is not my body, like Srila Prabhupada, when he was in the so-called deathbed, he did not look at his body as his body. He looked at it as just a machine to serve Krishna. He looked at it as just a property of Krishna to be used and falling apart on Krishna's will. So he was that detached to his body. Yeah. So when that kind of detachment is there, then there is no pain. Though there is pain that was present in the body, Srila Prabhupada was unaffected by it because he was not attached to the body. That's the point. So the pain is because of the attachment. Here the answer is, why is there a body? But as Sukadeva Goswami said, Maitreya Muni is saying, the actuality there is no body, because it's an illusion. Like somebody dreams their head is cut off, it's an illusion, because the body is temporary. That's not permanent, it's illusory. But the pain because of the body is due to attachment. And the next shloka immediately after that is, as we already discussed, to come out of that attachment, then we have to detach from it. Just detachment is not possible easily and in a very deep-rooted fashion. If we Krishnaize it, like Srila Prabhupada did, yeah, that's Krishna's property. This body is Krishna's property. It has been used in his service. Now it is his will if it has to fall apart. That's the perfect detachment, Krishnaizing it. And that is bhakti. So that's the solution that he says in the next sloka. And to get that kind of bhakti, we have to hear Gunanuvadam Shravanam Murarihi. That's the next sloka. Yeah? And this is the last one. Until now, we have had this knowledge. Maitri Vidura is saying, this is so beautiful, Guruvarya. All I have heard is knowledge, is theory. All my doubts have been removed. This is very good by this knowledge. But now, this theory has to come to practice. The knowledge I have heard has to be realized. And it has to come into practice. Yeah, that is the same sloka, right? Yeah. Shrunvata Shraddhaya Nityam Granatastha Swacheshtitam. The knowledge that I have heard, I have to assimilate that. It has to be natural of me. So much so that it comes to the practice. How can that happen? That's the next thing. This is Sevayaham Paranade. This is Yusmat Charana Sevaham. This is by the serving the lotus feet of the pure devotees. And next sloka is saying, serving spiritual master reveals transcendental ecstasy. Yas sevaya bhagavata kutastya madudvishaha ratiraso bhavet tivra padayor vyasanardanaha. It's a beautiful sloka, very deep here. Yas sevaya bhagavata. When we are serving these bhagavatas, kutastasya madudvishaha, who are carrying madudvisha, Govinda in their heart. Ratiraso bhavet tivra. Tivra rati will be generated. Tivra, intense, rati, attachment to the lotus feet will be generated. The rasa of the attachment to the lotus feet of the Lord, intense rasa of the attachment to the lotus feet of the Lord will be generated when we are serving these Bhagavatas, Sharanagata Bhaktas who are carrying Govinda in their heart. Padayor Vyasanardanaha. And their miseries will be gone. What does that mean? Serving the Bhagavatas. We have heard this before too. Serving the spiritual master is serving the Vani. Serving the instruction means living with the Guru Tattva, being with Shri Guru. We have heard this in the very beginning. It's Sukadeva Goswami speaking, right? Also Suta Goswami speaking when he was invoking the prayers to Sukadeva Goswami. So this is how we serve the Bhagavatas, by living their instructions. Then we are living with the Bhagavatas, because Guru Tattva is an eternal principle. And that's how the rati, attachment to the Lord's lotus feet, will be generated, and the miseries will automatically go away. Rati to lotus feet of Lord is Ardha Pravritti, Krishna Prema. And miseries will be gone away is Anardha Nivritti. Anardha Nivritti will happen automatically. When the rati, attachment to the lotus feet of the Lord, is generated by serving the Bhagavatas, by living their instructions, and by serving the Harinam that they have given to us. And the last shloka says, this kind of service to Bhagavatas, Durapahi Alpatapasa, it's not easily found. Seva Vaikuntavatmashu, these Bhagavatas are on their way back home, back to Godhead. Seva Vaikuntavatmashu, on their way to Vaikunta, the spiritual realm, where Yat Rupagiyate Nityam Devadevo Janardana. In that spiritual realm, Yatra Upagiyate Nityam, at all times, the Lord is Janardana, is glorified. You know, in that spiritual realm, every step is a dance, every word is a song, every day is a festival. That spiritual realm, that's where they are heading to. And service to those Mahajanas is not easily found. It means the faith And to take shelter of those instructions, they are not easily found. But as we have heard, Atma Kandana from Chaitanya Charitamrita, when we are intensely desiring for it, and when we are in the association of the Shuddha Bhaktas, hearing their Vani, then slowly that Atma Kandana will be invoked, and then we will be able to do better Bhagavata Seva, to live their instructions and to serve the Harinam. So that's all the Katha for today. Glad we are able to do this with the little interruptions that we have had so far. So quickly summarizing, the 5th and 6th chapter is about the finer aspects of the primary creation. So we have heard about how Mahatma Vidura is asking questions to Maitreya and then bringing our attention to how any efforts that we do externally to mitigate our misery are not only stop the misery, but increase the miseries, and there will be no cessation. There is no happiness and there is no cessation of the miseries. So all these external attempts, why would anybody do those external attempts which are of no use? Because they are Krishna Vimukhat. They are looking at the material world, not looking at the Lord, not looking towards the Lord sitting in the heart. That we have heard. And then to bring this to our attention, the pure devotees come in and then speak Krishna Katha. And what is the potency of Krishna Katha? That Geharatim Chinnati, Bhava Pradam Geharatim Chinnati. It takes us out from the material modes, ocean of the material modes, and cuts off the self-centered family attachments. And then we have heard how does this happen? The potency of Krishna Katha. When the Shraddha is so big, when we're hearing the Krishna Katha and Nama, so as the results. Yeah. Samasta dukkapayam ashudatte. In no time, all the dukkhas, miseries will be gone. That we have heard. And after that, Vidura says, would you please give me only Krishna Katha, pure Krishna Katha. Like the honeybee takes the nectar from the flowers. After hearing all this, Maitreya says, oh yes, at that juncture, we have heard about how both the speaker and the listener, both of them serve Bhagavan, Bhagavata Katha, both by hearing and also speaking. Yeah, so that's a service together, Bhagavata Katha. We have heard that. And after that, we have heard the prayers from sense devatas. And the specific prayer that we were thinking, very much pertinent for us, is, though the Lord's lotus feet is sitting right in our heart, they seem to be very distant because we are too much focused outside. We are too engrossed with outside world. Bahir Mukha. We are not Antarmukha. When somebody is Antarmukha and is able to relish the pastimes of the Lord, then they will be able to see the lotus feet. That's all in the 5th and 6th chapter, right? We have talked about how the material elements also come from one after the other, starting from the ether to the earth, through the drishti of Bhagavan and the time energy. And after that, we came to the last chapter here. Oh, in the 6th chapter, those words of Maitreya Muni, how Bhagavata Katha, speakers of Bhagavata Katha, how we may be inadequate in our information because Bhagavan is so big, but we are not incorrect because we are receiving this information from Parampara. So we may be inadequate, but we are not incorrect. Yeah. That's the speaker of the Bhagavata. And then we have heard in the 7th chapter here about the answers to these two questions. That Bhagavan is the controller of the Maya, master of the Maya, but he's not bound by the Maya. like Garbhodaksai Vishnu enters the Brahmanda. He is the source of Sattva, Rajas, Tamo gunas. He is the in charge. He is the controller. He is not controlled by Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. That one. And then we have heard about the pain because of the body is because of the attachment. But when we are detached to the body, and by the perfect detachment is by Krishnizing it, then there will be no pain. So that Krishnizing part is called bhakti. So through bhakti, when there is detachment, then there will be no pain, even though there is a body, because bhakti extinguishes or dispels aham mameti, mine and I, because dispels aham mameti and Krishnizes it. So it's Krishna's, not I or mine. That's how bhakti is a solution. And we have heard how all this information is theory, but when it has to come to practice, the theory has to be realized and should come to practice. And that happens by devotional service. Devotional service is Yashevaya Bhagavata, serving the Bhagavata, pure devotee, serving his instructions and serving the Nama that he has given to us, and serving all the devotees around, because in one way or other, all are our gurus, since we learn from them. In this servitude, when there is servitude like that, then the theory that is heard will come out as practice. So this servitude in general and specifically serving the instructions of a spiritual master, living for the instructions of the spiritual master, is not easily found, is rare. That's what we have heard so far. Yeah, that's about the Bhagavad Katha today. Thank you all so very much. We'll pause here. Very grateful to all of your association, sincere association. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Jaya. I'll let you say your reflections, questions, or anything.